This special edition of the HHH Racing Podcast is brought to you by the Adelphi Racing Club. The Adelphi Racing Club is a partnership in every sense of the word, not a syndicate, and our members are treated like partners, not investors. If you're interested in joining a group of like minded individuals and having a truly interactive ownership experience, we are the right fit for you. Adelphi offers a variety of partnership options, including yearlings, 2 year olds in training, private purchases, and claiming options. We were recently active at the Facing Tipton Saratoga yearling sale for New York breds and have 3 exciting prospects currently available. Number one, an arrogant colt out of the family of Audible and Governor Malibu, headed to trainer Christophe Clement. A beautiful toneless filly out of a stakes place dam, also headed to the Clement barn. And a hard spun colt who wowed us with his powerful walk, headed to trainer Ray Handel. This is a very exciting group of prospects. You can see information to get in touch with racing manager Matt Couture below. Join the club, just like me, today. And now, let's start the show. Hello and welcome to this special edition of the HHH Racing Podcast. It is all about Adelphi, episode number 3. This is your host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you very much for joining us today. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen right there. And after you do that, hit that notification bell, which will tell YouTube and others this is a great show. We'll also tell you when shows will be arising. Of course, smash that thumbs up button. We greatly appreciate it. For all of you that are partners of Adelphi, I'm a partner as well, as you may know, and very excited to have some pieces of several horses through Adelphi. And if you're not familiar with this show, all about Adelphi, this is the 3rd episode of the show. We've had 2 others. On the YouTube channel, if you go below, you scroll down just a little bit, you can see our other 2 episodes regarding all about Adelphi. We bring on personalities and many people involved with the Adelphi Racing Club. Of course, managing partner Matt Couture does an excellent job. I can vouch for all of that. I've had a great experience. And today, I should say, we have a very special guest that I'm excited to bring on. But before we do that, let me bring in my co-host who's going to be helping me with that interview today from the East Coast and the Saratoga Special, Mr. Paul Halloran. Paul, how you doing today?
Happy Monday, Howard. Happy Travers Week. Happy Travers
yes,
Week.
happy Travers Week. It's very exciting. It's a big week. And for those of you that are not aware or new to the HHH Racing Podcast, very quickly, we have 2 other shows this week. Thursday night, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, we have a full blowout show with Paul and my other great co-host, Pete Visco, and Andrew Champagne is coming back. Of course, he does a fantastic job. So again, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, a full card preview of Travers Day. Paul, it's going to be an unbelievable day of racing. And then, of course, this Saturday on Travers Day, the HHH Racing Podcast making its first show appearance live at an OTB at Crazy 4. Very excited about that in Villa Park. Of course, that is going to be Saturday live from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. So we're very excited about that. Please check us out Saturday, 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. Paul, we're going to bring on our guest just a moment. He just there he is. He's back screen. Okay, I want to make sure that our guest didn't think we were forgetting about him. Miguel, I can see you. Miguel, quick thumbs up if you can hear me and we're ready to go for you. Okay, all right, great. So Miguel is ready to go. We'll bring him on here in just a second. Paul, we had a very exciting last weekend. Some very interesting things happened on the racetrack, as you are well aware. But anyway, there's a time and place for that. Let's bring on Paul. a very exciting gentleman that I've been looking forward to have for a long time. Does a great job with several horses through the Adelphi Racing Club, is making a name for himself in the training world for many years now, and of course, is the proud son of world-renowned trainer Christophe Clement. We're going to be talking to Mr. Miguel Clement about many things. So please make sure if you're watching live, everyone, that in the chat, please, any questions you have for Miguel Clement, Adelphi Racing Club, anything in that area, please make sure you put questions on the upper right-hand corner in the live chat. We have a lot of people watching. I see Raymond is already here. So again, keep those questions coming. We'll ask as many questions for Miguel as possible. Paul, we ready to rock and roll?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it. So live from, I'm assuming Saratoga, somewhere in the Saratoga area. Let's bring him on. He is a trainer for the Adelphi Racing Club, along with many of their partnerships, assistant trainer, mainly New York and Florida. Let's bring him on right now live. Miguel Clement. Miguel, how you doing, sir?
Very good. How is everyone?
Hey, Miguel.
I'm doing great. Good to see you. I actually saw you last month. I was in Saratoga. I'm hearing a little feedback. I don't know if that's from Miguel. I'm assuming. I don't know. Can you guys hear any can you hear my voice? I'm hearing an echo. I don't know if people are hearing an echo. You are, Paul, also? Okay. Miguel, I'm gonna go ahead and take you off screen, Miguel. I don't know if you can switch to a different sound possibly, because I'm hearing an echo. Paul and I are both hearing an echo. So I don't know if you have headphones or you could try something else. Miguel, I'm gonna take you off screen real quick and I'll bring you right back. See if you can make sure the sound is good for you. I'll bring you right back, Miguel. So as we bring back, you heard that, Paul? You hear an echo?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, we heard an echo. So I don't know if Miguel can maybe hook up headphones or I'm not sure. I don't know if he has anything. Doesn't look like he has anything. We might just have to. Do you have any suggestions, Paul, for Miguel to get rid of the echo? Or
I'm not sure how he's, if he's using a monitor or if it's the speaker,
Yeah.
It sounds like it's being double broadcast.
Yeah, it's like, Miguel, maybe you have this, if you have the sound on, maybe just turn the sound off on whatever device you're using. That could be the problem.
Yeah.
Actually, that probably is the problem, right, Paul? Because he's.
Yep.
But we'll see. So I'm going to bring. Sorry, everyone. Miguel, let me bring you back on. Let's see. Nope. I still hear an echo. Paul, do you hear an echo also?
Yes.
Okay. Miguel, do you hear an echo on your end? Probably not.
Oh, good. It's great.
That's very strange. Okay. All right. Paul, you're on mute now, so. I don't know. Go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say, I can hear it when you're talking as well.
Yeah, now I hear it when you're talking as well. All right, I'll tell you what, guys. I'm going to take both of you. This doesn't happen too often. I apologize to everyone watching at home. I'll tell you what, comment in the chat. If you guys hear, we can just go ahead and continue with the show if people at home are not hearing anything. So those of you that are watching, Raymond, David, many others, if you could comment in the live chat if you're hearing an echo, I'd greatly appreciate it, because this doesn't usually happen. So if the people at home are not hearing echo, Paul and Miguel, I think we'll just go ahead and continue with the show.
Yeah.
I know it's very annoying.
That's
So
fine.
we'll just go ahead and continue. Miguel, I greatly apologize. I'm not sure what's going on, but what's new in Saratoga Springs? How's the weather today, first of all?
It's okay. I think we're expecting a good deal of rain this afternoon, so it'll mess up my training chart for tomorrow. But I mean, as of now, it's okay.
Okay, well, that's good. I know the weather, there's supposed to be a little rain today, tomorrow, but it's supposed to be clearing up later in the week, so it should be great for Travers Weekend. Miguel, I know that we have a lot of questions I'd like to ask you, 10 minutes to post. We have people that are going to be asking a lot of questions. So let's just go ahead and jump right in, Miguel. First of all, thank you very much, of course, for joining us on the podcast. We greatly appreciate it. Was becoming a trainer on your radar even when you were at college at Duke University?
No, it was on the radar way before Duke. I had to go to university. It was a parent's rule. And I had to do a university that had nothing to do with horses. So that's why Duke came into the horizon. Otherwise, I probably would have done a UK like most of us do in this, profession. Nevertheless, even from a young age, I always wanted to be a trainer. I always wanted to train.
That's terrific.
That was one of my questions, Miguel. I kind of assumed that parents said if you want to get into business, get a college degree first.
100%. And every internship from there on out during college was everything outside of horses. So bank, you name it, I probably followed along those lines, but it was always back to horses. It was inevitable. They tried.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you. Apparently there's an echo with me, and I have no idea why. And there's an echo with Paul, but Miguel is fine. And I never have echo, so I don't know.
We'd rather listen to Miguel anyway.
I'm almost tempted. Well, actually, if I go off, then you guys, the show will disappear. I'm a bit of a mystery right now what to do, to be honest with you. Let me turn off. I just turned my mic off just to see what happened. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. You go ahead, because I want to continue, obviously, the pod. So, Paul, I'm going to go ahead and continue. I'm going to see if I can figure out on my end.
Okay.
Paul, go ahead.
Miguel, tell us just a little bit about those years at Duke when you were presumably disconnected from racing to a degree and a, quote, regular college student. Tell us about your experience.
Okay. Hey, Paul, I got it. They said there's a bad echo everywhere. I have no idea what's going on, guys.
Start over?
Well, I can. Okay, I'll tell you what. Yeah, we still have the. Well, I don't know if I can actually restart the broadcast. This is Miguel. This has never happened before. This is a bit of a nightmare here. I really don't know what to do. I can create another show and just send it out to you guys. The problem is the public won't really be able to see it right away. That's the problem. I'll tell you what. I'm going to unhook my microphone, guys. Everyone, I'll tell you, everyone at home, be patient. I'm going to take these guys off the screen. We'll be back in just 1 minute. I apologize to everyone. I'm going to go ahead and create a background, and we'll be back, everyone, in just a few minutes. Greatly apologize. We'll see if we can figure this out. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're going to see if this works better. I am fine. I do not hear an echo right now. Again, I greatly apologize to everyone who's watching live. That's the beauty of live TV. I don't hear an echo when I'm talking. So those of you at home, if you hear an echo right now, if you could let us know, again, I greatly appreciate it and apologize for the technical difficulties. But if you're watching, we know we have people watching live. If you're watching right now, and let me know if you hear an echo. Someone suggested that Miguel needs headphones. Let me bring Paul back on and Paul, when you came on, there wasn't a problem. So let me check with Paul here. Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Good.
Okay, so you and I are fine. So I think the problem is on Miguel's end. So let me go ahead and switch the background here. So Miguel looks like went to maybe get some headphones. It looks like, Paul. Again, this is the HHH Racing Podcast, the very adventuresome episode 3 of All About Adelphi. Not exactly getting off. Hopefully, the Clement Barnes horses will get out of the gate a little better than this show does, Paul. But I can see Miguel. Everyone is going to try to find some headphones, so we'll see if that works. Paul, go ahead and talk again. Make sure you're okay.
I'm here.
Okay, so everything seems fine with you and I, Paul. So perhaps it was just Miguel. While we're waiting for Miguel to hopefully get some headphones, Paul, there's some big news from the Travers. Let's talk about that very quickly. And it's really unfortunate news. I am seriously bummed. I believe it was announced maybe Saturday morning. Charge It, who missed his work on Saturday. I think it was actually announced Sunday. And Pletcher didn't quite say exactly. I believe it's a foot abscess, if I recall. They can't get it quite in time for a workout. And so Charge It for Pletcher, Paul, is out of the Travers, correct?
Yeah. And, Howard, I saw him projected as low as the second choice. So he was going to take a lot of money. I thought he had a pretty good chance, too, although I suspect he was probably going to be overbet based on what I was reading. But, you really you just hate to see that. Pletcher said, and I'm sure Miguel and Christoph can relate to this. It's just the timing is just not good. If the race were 3 or 4 days later, they probably could have made it. But when you're going into a grade 1 race at 1.25 miles with a 3-year-old, obviously it's got to be all systems go. And they're going to now point to the Pennsylvania Derby on September 24th.
Okay, actually, I think that's a good spot for them, and they're going to be very tough there. Speaking of a Pletcher horse, actually, that sort of answers my question in my next question directly, because I want to bring up the Alabama and Nest. Again, for those of you watching, this is the host Howard Kravitz along with co-host Paul Howard. We had some technical difficulties. We do have Miguel Clement, who was on. I believe we're trying to work out the technical difficulties with Miguel. He's just going to grab some headphones. So again, if you are a partner for Adelphi Racing Club and you're new to the show, Paul can verify this almost never, actually the first time this has ever happened, we've had this much of a technical difficulty from our guest. But again, Miguel Clement, hopefully we will have here on any moment, is we're trying to work out the sound issue with Miguel, and he's going to grab some headphones. But Paul, I thought Nest was, what can you say, was absolutely unbelievable in the Alabama. And what I was leading to, Paul, was maybe Nest going to the Pennsylvania Derby. But now with Charge It going there, I'm assuming Nest will pick a spot for the girls again, Paul, I would guess, right?
It's going to be interesting, Howard. In the first Breeders' Cup Future that came out a few weeks ago, I almost made a wager on Nest in case this happened, that she dominated the Alabama, and they might think, she ran second in the Belmont, and Mo Donegal would have been probably a solid second choice in this Travers, right? And she finished second to him. You just got to wonder, remember, Mike Rapoli is in on the ownership group, and Mike is not afraid to take a big swing. So it will be interesting to see what happens next, and then what happens after next.
I'm going to guess they're going to stick with, in the at least in the Breeders' Cup, I'm assuming they're going to stick with the distaff, but you can make a strong argument. Yeah, two things. One, she got a 104 buyer. Is that good enough to win the Classic? Probably not. Is it good enough to maybe hit the board in the Classic? I don't see why not. That's very possible. As it looks like Miguel's about ready to come on here, guys. But let's go. I don't want to waste too much time. I know Miguel has.
Howard, what I was going to say is just make sure if he had the regular YouTube on a different screen, that would also explain it. So just make sure he's only on the screen.
He said he's not. So let's try Miguel one more time. He's got some headphones on. Miguel, let's try it now. How are you?
Good. How are you?
We're good. Okay. Good.
Clearly, Christoph solved this problem, Miguel.
Yeah, I'm sure he's the tech. He's the tech guru of the barn, right, Miguel?
Yeah, right. The other day, he was calling me via FaceTime, not knowing how to end the call. It was me and like 7 other guys. But that's
By the way, shout out to Matt Miller, Paul, who suggested in the chat. We've had this problem before. Chat, put that in the back of our mind, Paul. That when we have that feedback, it's because they need headphones. So let's just try to remember that. All right, Miguel. We were talking about Duke, and you had going as a horse trainer you had way before college. You had that in your mind, correct?
Correct. That was the family rule. Had to go to university, nothing to do with horses. And if I still want to pursue horses, that would be the path afterwards. But 4 years at university, and that's the path we took.
Could you tell
Absolutely.
us how you selected Duke, Miguel?
It's a good school academic.
I'd say.
It had nothing to do with horses. That's the family approved. And actually, I liked it a lot. I played there early. I loved it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic. I've never been, but I've heard a lot of great things. I hear they play a little college basketball there as well, from what I understand. But I'm not sure if you were a big sports fan there or not. But probably hard not to be, at least of the college basketball team. Were you one of the Duke crazies there in the waving your hands behind the Cameron crazy? No.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, you won't believe this, but I brought my mom and my dad to a couple of games, and I thought I was a good fan until I saw my mom at a game, and that was a bit awkward. She's a passionate fan. So I got her
I
two
believe
tickets
that.
to sit up top, and so my mom wanted to go in the student section. So there's my mom chanting, profanities, has the car keys, telling them to drive home
Wow.
safely, waving at them. I mean, it was a bit awkward. I didn't know
I
how I
love
felt
it.
about it, and she was passionate into it, and she likes to cheer a lot. So it was a good experience, but it was definitely new. It was a new experience. I didn't expect me and my mom and all the Cameron crazies, with face paint and such.
That's cool. Well, I just want to tell everyone really quickly, Miguel, I've had the pleasure of meeting you a few times. I don't know if you remember. I know you meet a lot of people. I met you at Gulfstream for the first time at the Pegasus, and then we ran each other, I believe, at the Belmont, and then last month I waved through the paddock. You looked at me. You probably didn't know who I was, but you were just walking a horse through the paddock a month ago, and I just sort of shout out your name, and you looked at me probably like just another crazy fan. But no, just me, I'm Delphi partner. But Miguel, let's talk about your time at Darley and in Newmarket. Two really exciting opportunities you had before you became an assistant trainer with your father. Let's talk about
So
Darley first.
the thought projects was I was still in school. Before I had any sort of like obligations or responsibilities, if there's ever time to travel, it would probably be right then and there. So it was inevitable I was going to travel. And the Flying Start was a great program. You could see all facets of their operation. I never worked on a stud farm previously, for example. There's many aspects I never attended to the breeding industry. In my mind, the 2-year-olds pop up to you. They arrive at 0 length. They come up to you as a 2-year-old, and that's when their existence begins. But in fact, there's like a big, there's many things that take place beforehand. So it was nice to experience it, obviously. And I loved it. You got to see everything. I was fortunate to work with some of the best around all the world. And I could not recommend the program strongly enough, to be honest with you. I loved it. You get to see everyone, you get to expose, and whatever you put in the program is what you get out of it. And it was an opportunity of a lifetime.
And then you go to Newmarket with Hugo Palmer. That had to be an incredible experience.
It was a fantastic experience. He had a spectacular year. I was there for 2 years, I believe, and he had a spectacular season. And it was great. He had 1 year was not so good, and 1 year was spectacular. And it was a roller coaster of emotions. You can see, the ups, the downs, and you learn just as much from having a successful team as you have maybe with an unsuccessful season as well. You learn a lot. You learn what you always learn. It's and especially in this industry, there are ups and downs, and you try to remain as consistent as possible. It's not simple, but no matter what, you need to learn and move forward.
What was there something that in Newmarket that surprised you in there? Obviously, you learned a lot about the way that Europeans train their horses through your father, but was there anything there specifically that surprised you or really, stuck out with you in terms of training methods that you now bring back here, along with your father?
Yeah, without a doubt, there's always things you can learn. When you're working in Australia, when working in South Africa, when working in Europe, there's always things you approach. Either there's training regimes, whether it's medication oriented, communication with your owners, the way they do bloodstock or purchases. There's always different facets of the operation you could always improve upon and learn. Some you can replicate in the States, some you can't replicate in the States.
Of course.
It's interesting. You just have to learn as much as you can, and some you would like to model, and sometimes it's a question of give and take. But there's always things you can learn. There's many things that some things I think we do better, for instance, in the States. Some I believe that they do better in Europe. There's plenty to learn always.
Paul, do you have a question either relating to the topic on the bottom or anything you want to piggyback off of?
Yeah, I wanted to talk to Miguel just a little bit about starting out when you first went to work for your father and how your role has evolved and increased over the years. You're obviously very prominent now. Tell us a little bit about the evolution of you and your experience working with your dad.
The evolution of me working with my dad. Well, I like to think I was always a member, even when I was back in, middle school or high school. I was working for him in the summers. I was always heavily involved, and I always had a very strong opinion, even if I wasn't a full-time employee of the stable. And when I was a child, the worst punishment you could give me was probably grounding me from the races. That's what a serious consequence. It means I really messed up if I was not allowed to go to the barn or to the races over the weekend. And I was lucky. I was very fortunate. My father has been very successful for many years, his entire operation, many years before me, before I joined full time. And I was just lucky to join a very good team, which makes your job much easier in charge of the second operation because he had a successful team in place, hardworking, devoted, very successful team. He's got Christophe Loyot has been his main assistant for about 30 years. He's been in the other operation, so it just made the transition very easy for me. I didn't have to do much, to be honest with you. I just inherited a very good team, so I was very lucky in that way.
Miguel, have you found that over the years, I mean, obviously you always had respect for your father and vice versa, but over the years you feel like you've a little more say in the operation, that he allows you to, do more things, year after year, and you're, as a trainer, you're progressing so that when you go out on your own, whenever the time need be, you'll be fully right for that?
Yeah, there's two rules of the stable. Rule number one is the boss is always right, and rule number two is always to revert back to rule number one. So, but he's very open-minded. He always asks me to explain whenever I disagree with him, opinions and such. He's very open-minded. He may not agree with me. He may continue to do his own path. Sometimes I do convince him otherwise. Sometimes he agrees and lets me take a gamble. But it's never an exact science, which makes it interesting. Sometimes he'll explain me why he does a certain thing a certain way or why he disagrees, and I'll disagree or agree, or he'll convince me otherwise. But at the end of the day, he's the boss, and but he gives me my fair share of say, which is pleasant. There's since it's never an exact science. There's a lot of room for interpretation. It's a bit like an art. It's very tough to say what is right or what is wrong. It's more it's the way basically how they run at the end of the day.
Well, and that's really you.
Go ahead,
I was going to say, Miguel, that's all you could really ask for in any job, right? Whether it's your father or just any boss, is that he gives you a chance to have input, and sometimes he's going to take it, and sometimes he's going to make his own decision. But you want to feel as if you're being heard, and it certainly sounds like you're more than being heard.
Yeah, no, listen, it's been a very successful team. I think the same could be said with Christophe Loyot back at Belmont. It's we all have the same ambition, we all have the same aspiration, the same dream, the same focus, and we all want the same results. So I suppose it is very much a team working for for betterment of the stables. It's not like a individual sport where we all hope to do our own achievements. No, whatever we achieve as a stable does better for the stable. So it's inevitable. We all try to have the same aspiration and the same goal, which is to produce as many winners as you can, give them the best career they could possibly have, and everything to get to that point.
Well, you guys have sure had a lot of success. I believe finished second in the standings at Belmont. I had a great meet there. Continuing on with a great meet at Saratoga. Of course, your father was up for a Hall of Fame nomination. Did not get in, unfortunately, but I'm sure he will be getting in soon, because that would be a well deserved honor that I think we all look forward to. Miguel, let's talk a little bit. We have a lot of people, of course. The name of the show is obviously it's the Racing Podcast, HHH, but this is all about Adelphi episode 3. We have a lot of partners from Adelphi watching, and we have several horses that the Clement barn trains for Adelphi Racing Club. Let's talk a little bit about the racing club specifically. First, I want to talk about Matt Couture. How did you meet Matt, and talk about your relationship with managing partner founder Matt Couture of the Adelphi Racing Club?
So I met Matt via Joe Migliori. He's a very close friend of mine, and from
Joe was
the
on the show.
get-go,
He's been on the show. I think episode 1 of our All About Delphi, I believe.
Yeah, I hope he spoke about me, and I hope he spoke about me well. If not, you tell me, and I'll say a few embarrassing stories about him.
I think you said you were a jerk, and we shouldn't have you on. But you know Joe. No, Joe said a lot of nice things. He was fantastic. Joe's awesome, as you are well aware of.
Yeah, I wouldn't exaggerate now, but that's okay. No, listen, a very close friend of mine. He introduced me to Matt Couture, and Matt's been with the stables now for 2 years. I'm disappointed it only took, this summer to have his first winter with us. It took way too long for the whole Adelphi group. Nevertheless, it's been fun. He's very involved. He loves it. And as long as someone loves the game, that's all that matters, fundamentally speaking. When you love the game, it makes it a lot easier to train for someone when they love the sport.
And you work with many different partnerships. Can you talk about how Matt's a pretty easygoing guy? Just some of the positives. If there are negatives, feel free. But some of the wonderful things that you enjoy working with the Adelphi Racing Club and Matt.
No, it's great. You have lots of great partners. It's a lot of fun. They love to win. I mean, every partnership loves to win. Who does not like to win in this industry? Let's not kid ourselves. And no, it's easy to speak to them. I speak to, for instance, Matt on an everyday, daily basis. I've got actually a WhatsApp group with Matt and Joe Migliori, which is basically 90% banter, 8% intellectual, smart thinking about horses, and 2% of mocking Joe. So that's pretty much the percentage breakdown. And,
I think we need to boost up that percent of mocking Joe a little bit, but I'll leave that between the three of you.
Yeah, no, it's Matt's usually the referee in the banter and who we can mock, so he's the one in charge. And no, it's fun. It's easy, the very hands-off approach. In terms of training, you do everything you think that needs to be done. The horse always goes first, which is pleasant and is always required. And I believe the communication's been rather good on both sides, to be honest with you.
So there are some horses that you see on the bottom of the screen there. Community Justed, of course, is the horse that won. Came back and run a good third, I believe, at Saratoga. Let's talk about the second horse on that screen. I have some personal interest in this horse because myself and my brother have a fairly decent-sized piece of this horse. I'm going to go ahead and bring a picture. I was able to see Magistrate, who is a 2-year-old at the in-front training center, which, boy, Miguel, that was a really cool place. I was really impressed with that. There's sort of an indoor sort of training track they have also, which I thought is really cool. Let me go ahead and bring up a picture of Magistrate on the screen for those of you. Let me take this down. I'll go full screen there. There's Magistrate. This is a 2-year-old by Taprit out of the Distorted Humor Americentric Spinster. This horse has grown a lot. Miguel, I saw Magistrate for the first time at Ocala at the Kinsman Farm down in December. It was the first time I actually got a chance to see him. And this picture doesn't really do it justice. He's really starting to fill out and grow nicely. What do you think of Magistrate from what you've heard or what you've seen and his prospects going forward?
So I speak to Mike Schroeder at In Front Training Center once a week, actually twice a week. And he's pleased with him. He's a big boy. When I had him here at Saratoga, he was one of my biggest 2-year-olds, and he was still growing. He needs time. He's not an early precocious 2-year-old. He's not going to run 5 furlongs or 6 furlongs. Whatever surface he runs at will be definitely long. He's got plenty of substance, plenty of weight, plenty of size. Longer the better. Just needs some time to mature into himself. It's all good. It's too early to tell, to be critical or to have any strong opinion on him. Sure. And there's many horses that fall in that frame. You just hope that as you train them, that the penny clicks and that he shows more speed and more athleticism. But at this time and stage, you can't judge it. He's just too big to have an opinion. It's like having the tallest kid at the 3rd grade. They're not necessarily the most athletic. Just give it time to develop himself. He's still growing and still growing into his frame. So it's too tough to be critical or to assess him.
Yeah, of course, Taprit, one of the Belmont, was great on dirt. But, it's hard to tell if he might be a little bit turf. He's got a little turf influence. I mean, it's probably early to tell. He's training on both, I believe. Is that correct?
That is correct. And if he's turf, you blame Joe Migliori because I believe he purchased the horse,
Okay. Paul, I don't mean to be stealing your thunder. You have some questions. I just want to make sure we involved the Adelphi Racing Club. They've got a Gotham Gray, Better Lucky Than Good. There's a Flatter Filly, and just bought some 2-year-olds at the New York sale. Miguel, as you're well aware, that are going to your barn eventually, your father's barn, I should say, and your barn.
Yeah, I believe they bought a yearling by Arrogate that comes out of a family that we're very familiar with. I believe it's out of Kitty Panda, who we also trained.
Yes.
And in that family, I believe you have Acalina. Acalina then produced Reino Tesoro, who was a grade 1, I think, runner-up or winner in Japan. And then also have the likes of Gardner Malibu, who Dad trained as well as, ran 4th in the Belmont Stakes, but he just missed the Jim Dandy, and he ran like some proper good dirt races and some big of the races we had here. I think he ran 5th, beaten 17 lengths in the Travers, but to be fair, he was only 2 lengths off being second because Arrogate won that year, where he destroyed all of us. in that family as well. You got plenty of good ones that we actually train in the family. So actually quite pleased with this one. It's actually one of my dad's favorites ones in the New York bred sale. So we're happy to get him.
Terrific. Paul?
Miguel, you talking about partnerships. I think it's probably changed the dynamic, I would think, as far as communication goes with, obviously owners have always been interested in how their horses are doing, but it seems like now, and I've involved in a very small way with a couple of Zilla horses, so I'm a little familiar with it, that it really puts the onus on you guys, and you do a great job at it, of making sure that everyone's in the loop. You mentioned you speak to Mike Schrader at the farm twice a week, and I'm sure you're speaking to owners on a regular basis. Well, has that dynamic changed a little bit with more partners involved in some of these horses?
Yeah, without a doubt. And then you have to adapt. In our industry, if you kept training and if you kept doing the same thing every day, you'll quickly be outdated. You can look at trainers who are very good in the 80s and 90s that are not the same level now. You can look at, it's very tough to stay at the top of the profession, and you always have to adapt. So communication is one of them. We have to adapt. It's inevitable. Back in the day, for instance, many horses were owned by one individual, made it easier. Now you have many partnerships. I would say more than half of our horses are owned in partnership, and you have to adapt. For instance, we do lots of WhatsApp groups with owners for certain horse ownership. It makes it easier. So you send a picture, upload, and the quality of the videos, and it's perfect. It's being internet based. It varies. It varies what the ownership needs and requires. Sometimes it's you always have to adapt. It's just communication on both sides makes it easier. It's what the expectations are, what they would like to know. You have other owners that prefer just to know like entries or problems, and except for that, no news is good news. It's fine as well. It just varies.
Miguel, let's talk a little bit about some of the current horses you guys have, and a little just very quick trip down memory lane with the Clement stable. Let's talk about Big Invasion. I am just super excited about this horse. I'm sure you guys are also. For those people that haven't been watching the Saratoga or in detail, is that we're going to bring up a replay of the Mahoney here without sound, Miguel, and you can talk through it. For those people not aware, please talk about the horse Big Invasion and what kind of year he's having and plans going forward with this super talented horse on turf.
Yeah, no, he's very special. He's a freak. He's if you believe in rags, he paired up his 7 rag from his last start again in the last race, which is freakish for a 3-year-old. From as a 2-year-old, we thought it was one of our best ones. Here, when you're watching the replay, I was a little bit worried with Joel. I thought he gave him a little bit too much to do.
Yeah, so was I. I was like, why is he so far back, Miguel?
We were a bit behind, but he's very confident. He wanted to teach him how to be settled. He wanted to teach him because sometimes he can be a bit strong. And that day, for instance, he settled beautifully. He didn't move. He wasn't keen. He was very professional. He came out. I didn't think we were going to be able to get up, and the fact that he got up in the last 16th effortlessly with Joel never riding much, well, I thought visually incredibly impressive. He's just different class. He's a lot of fun to train. He's by declaration of war. I think we've trained 6 or 7 of declaration of wars. 2 of them have gone on to be Grade 1 winners. Big Invasion might be the 3rd if we get lucky. And he's different class. He's just a special horse.
Now I know, your dad tends to be a little more on the conservative side. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I as a handicapper and just a fan, Miguel, I'd love to see this horse in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I think 5.5 hits this horse right between the eyes. It's not easy as a 3-year-old to step up versus older. But are there any? You guys Breeders' Cup dreaming, or are you gonna wait until maybe next year for that? God willing, if he's healthy.
No, the boss is not conservative. He's realistic, but
okay.
He's
Sorry,
good.
I didn't
he's
mean
good.
The Breeders' Cup, a bad word necessarily.
The Breeders' Cup. The Breeders' Cup's very much on the horizon. You develop them, you make them last longer by doing so. I know people like to throw them sometimes in the deep end, but look at the Kentucky Derby trail. How many times those good horses have been ruined? If I write down a list by January time, your 20 favorite for the Kentucky Derby, 15 of those 20, I bet you, are not running in June, July time. And I bet you not even less than a handful of them would be running as good 4-year-olds. So you have to be patient. The horse always has to come first. As much as it's tough, many times we forego some big, dreams or aspirations just for the sake of the horse's career. Some could take it, some can't. Big Invasion, without a doubt, the Breeders' Cup's on the horizon. We don't like the fact that it's at Kentucky, just because I believe he's a horse who excels on firm turf. If it was at California this year, I'd be more bullish about his chances than Kentucky. We have to train for him for it, and just hope that we get lucky with the weather. It's a little bit out of our control. The big question is, do we run them once at Kentucky Downs before, or do we train them straight for the British Cup? So that is right now an ongoing discussion that we'll have with Mr. Reeves. But it's all good. He's very good. He's definitely, ability-wise, I wouldn't be scared of any of the older horses. Just take them on if we get a firm turf course. I'm just more worried about the horse's well-being and the turf course more than any opposition.
And that turf stake at Kentucky Downs, I believe is 6, right? It was 6.5. I can't recall. Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know if it takes into account the undulation or not.
Yeah,
so,
it's six plus hills. It's 6 furlongs plus hills.
I'd be dubious. I'm worried about the 6 in hills for him because he has so much speed. But saying that, he did win very impressively at Belmont, going 7/8, and a rather easy hand ride by Joel. I think when you're that good, you could overcome a lot. It's just you have to look after his well-being. Good horses overcome a tremendous amount. He's overcome everything. He could win a 40 place as he did at Gulfstream. He can win from off the pace as he just demonstrated his last race. He can win inside, outside. It doesn't matter. At Churchill, he was stuck on the inside. He was a bit keen, and he was shuffled around and messed around a little bit, but he just went around everyone in 3 strides. He's a good horse. You just look after him. His
turn foot is serious. Paul, before I'm going to show the Pizza Bianca and just talk about Pizza Bianca literally for 30 seconds. I hate to be that short, Miguel, but I know your time is. You have a hard out at about 15 minutes. Is that correct?
No, it's okay. I can wait. I'll push it back. Don't worry about that. That's Pizza Bianca behind me. And the picture right here. That's she made my living room. So yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, well, I appreciate that because I was going to rush through some things. But before we get to Pizza Bianca, there's a question from, I don't know if this is from Matthew Terra. If you see at the bottom of the screen, the weekly Saratoga cookie deliveries. Does that put you on top of the list of partnerships for Adelphi Racing Club?
It definitely helps. They know how to speak to my sweet tooth.
Now, what kind
I've
of
got a
cookies? You gotta
predicament.
give us some info on this, Miguel.
It's fantastic cookies, chocolate chip, nuts. I love the cookies. Far too kind, way too generous. I thought I was the only one. I don't know how. Way too many cookies at the barn every time. It's incredibly kind. Actually, I really do like them. My issue is I have to find a way to eat them and hide them a little bit because otherwise the stable, if they see my bag, will go for it. And it's created a vicious cycle. Or if I bring it home, I've got Acacia's got a bit of a sweet tooth, so it's a bit of a predicament I'm in. So I need to find a way without leaving it in the car so they melt. So I'm working on it.
I was wondering if those are for you or for the horses. And by the way, I just want to also say publicly, I cannot say enough good things about the job that your wonderful wife Acacia has been doing, has always been doing, is currently doing. I think it's just it's fantastic listening to her on Fox. We had her on the show as well. I believe it was over the winter. She was fantastic, Miguel, and so I know that you feel very fortunate to have Acacia in your life.
Yeah, very much so. I married her, so I hope so.
Absolutely.
Howard, he already has a complex about being the second most famous racing personality in his marriage, and now you're feeding into that.
Well, I did see a picture where it looked like you were shying away from her a little bit.
That was great.
No. Miguel, first of all, knows I'm joking, number one. And he does know the picture. I think it was on Twitter that I'm referring to. I don't know. I do not have the picture, Miguel, but do you know
I was embarrassing. It was not my best moment. She went to give me a kiss or two and after the race, and I don't show much public affection. And I shied away. Fortunately, there's some news in Saratoga, I think the next day that took away the highlights away from my picture.
Yeah.
So I guess I suppose I was a bit lucky for that regard. So
very quickly, Miguel. You went from the front page to the back page, Miguel.
I don't know what news you're referring to, but anyway, shout out to Acacia, does a great job. Miguel, let's talk about. I'm sorry, Paul. Do you have a quick question? I'm going to bring up the stretch run of Pizza Bianca and the Breeders' Cup.
I was going to get into that about the recent success with Gufo and the Sword Dancer last year, and of course Pizza Bianca and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. So,
we're going to bring up the stretch run or about the 3/8 pole of the Pizza Bianca replay. Miguel, we don't really have to talk about the specific race as much as just explain the whole amazing experience. Christophe Clement, of course, getting his first Breeders' Cup win, which is crazy because he's such an unbelievable trainer, and have to wait that long to get a Breeders' Cup win. It had to be a little bit tough on him and the group. But Pizza Bianca came through, and this ride that was given by, I believe, Jose Ortiz, correct, was just absolutely unbelievable. We're going to pick this up at a spot where you probably weren't too happy, not unhappy with Jose, but she was sort of in between I'm going to go bring it on right now here. Excuse me. She was sort of like gets in between and sort of had to wait. And Jose was very patient. When he pressed the button, it was just absolutely unbelievable. Pizzi Bianca's right here on the one. Go ahead, Miguel.
Yeah, I'm not sure how. We were finding ourselves 3 wide, being from post 1 on the first turn and second turn.
Yeah.
We're a bit maybe further back than I thought we would have been, so a bit worried. But she always demonstrated she had a good turn of foot. She ran only twice before. She won very impressively at Saratoga, her maiden. In her second start, she ran second in the Natalma against a good Godolphin filly. So she always demonstrated a very good turn of foot. But this day it surprised me because I didn't think she against these types of fillies we would be able to catch them so quickly. You know, the filly
What were you
on
thinking
the front
right here,
end.
Miguel? When he split, did you think that he had enough time to get the filly there?
Not sure, but you know, it's a very good field. Cachet on the front end, trained by George Bowie, who also worked with me at Hugo Palmer's. He was the other pupil assistant then. He she went on to do very big things this year. You know, the English Guineas she won. The filly on the outside is Haughty, who just won the Lake Placid there in the green, and the filly on the rail is a very good French filly as well. So I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 are top class fillies. It was a very good race on form. And time showed it as well. I believe that from that race, you had a tremendous amount of greatest stakes and group winners that came from that race already. It's a very good field. Jose gave a brilliant ride and deserves a tremendous amount of credit. Not many jocks would have stayed in, be patient, and ride for luck, hoping for a gap. And I'm not sure if she gets the job done or not if he swings her out 6, 7, 8 wide. She was ready to run, but I think a tremendous amount of credit goes to obviously Jose as well as Mr. Flay. Mr. Flay was willing to take a chance, and he deserves a tremendous amount of credit. He obviously breeds tremendous racehorses. You have Pizza Bianca. He also bred, you know, First Captain, who's running, you know, I believe in the Jockey Club here at Saratoga.
Yeah.
He's got high-end bloodstock, and he's doing a heck of a job.
Well, you guys did a great job getting her ready, and I was super ecstatic for you guys to get that win. Paul, you want to mention a few others? Of course, there's a lot of talented horses in the stable. You already mentioned Gufo and others. Do you have a question regarding some of the others?
Yeah, well, I did cover the Sword Dancer last year, Miguel. In fact, you were good enough to connect me with Stephen Kanani's number. I had to follow up with him after the fact. Terrific guy. But talk a little bit about that horse. He had won that race. That doesn't seem like he's found his stride yet this year. Where is he at? Is he running again?
I don't know. It's a bit tough. He's doing very well. He was impressive at Gulfstream. He won very impressively. He wasn't 100% ready. Then we ran in the Man of War. He was a bit unlucky. He beat Yabir, but we didn't quite catch the horse on the front end. The Manhattan was a touch unlucky. Maybe we were a bit further back than we would have liked, but he ran well. Maybe it's a touch short for him. And then the United Nations, it was we learned from that race. I think he was like 16, 17 lengths, you know, off of them at the backside, and he made up 15 lengths to only get beat 2 lengths. You know, he showed a devastating turn of foot. There's just, you know, too much too late. Plus, I'm not sure if Monmouth suits him. You know, short stretch, tight turns, very speed favoring. We live and learn, and now we're going for the Sword Dancer. We have Joel back in the irons. Blinkers on.
Interesting.
He went blinkers on last year. He went blinkers back on this year. He didn't need it at the beginning of the year because he was very much into the race.
Right.
I think in his last 2 starts, he was further back than we would have liked. His last start especially was too tough for Joel to stay within the tact of the field. And once he got going, it was just too late. Even if he ran, I think, a very good race. If you look at the stretch, he made up like 8 or 9 lengths in the Monmouth stretch, which is very tough to do. Blinkers on. We hope that keeps him within contention of the field. He's training very well. He had 3 or 4 good works on the grass here at Saratoga. He's fit. He looks well. He's sound. He's happy. You kick on. I'm bullish about his chances, to be honest with you.
And no Yabir, I guess, fortunately for you guys, but I suppose you could say unfortunately for the betting public because he's a great horse. But I'm sure there'll be Tribuvon and a lot of other really nice horses in the Sword Dance. So I've not seen entries yet for that race. Are you aware who's going, Miguel, yet?
I believe Broome is coming for Aidan O'Brien. He's a very good horse.
Okay.
Yeah. I hope he's not coming, but unfortunately, I think he is making the trip.
Okay.
Chad's running 2, I think, maybe potentially 3 between Tribhuvan. He's got, you know, the 1, 2 of the Man of War, or the Manhattan, as well as, I don't know if the second from the United Nations is coming back, which is the same as the second from the Manhattan, which is that Amos.
Okay.
Rock Emperor, I believe, is coming back as well. It's going to be a good race. We also have another horse in the race, I believe. We're considering it was Soldier Rising. You know, he was a very good horse. Last year, he ran second to Yabir in State of Play. It's a very good horse. He had a nice win here at Saratoga the other day, and he's training well. It's ambitious, but it's time to be ambitious.
Miguel, it sounds like you guys think, though, he can be a little closer and still and still maintain that kick, that he doesn't have to come from that far back, or am I reading into?
No, listen, it doesn't matter how you read into it, to be completely honest, because as much as you and I read into it, it's kind of in Joel's hands. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's as much as we can do. We put the blinkers on, hoping to get Joel a bit closer. I'm hoping it does. Joel seems to think so in the mornings from his works, but he's a very good rider, and it's whatever Joel wants to do. Just keep things simple. It's up to Joel. I would love for him to be closer to the field instead of having to make up, 15 lengths in the backside. If we were within like 5, 6, 7 lengths, of course, it would make it easier for him.
Right.
But it's up to Joel. It's up to Joel and Goof, I suppose. That's the fortunate
And-
thing, is we only have to train them, and then they have to figure it out on race day.
Joel is feeling better, we assume. I know he missed last weekend.
I sure hope so.
Miguel, by the way, next time you get a nice price home in a grade 3 like the Forbidden Apple this year with City Man, you gotta send out a tip to Guterre and let me know or something, because congratulations on
That's
City Man.
amazing. Can you believe that Matt did not tell you the tip? I told him it was a certainty.
Really, I would have to get Guterre on the phone for that one. But anyway, you guys have had many other stake successes. Paul, before we get to the 10 minutes to post segment and close out the show, do you have any other quick questions for Miguel?
No, you guys had a tremendous Belmont meet, as Howard said, and I think you have 11 wins at Saratoga, and there's some coming off that Belmont meet and Saratoga being so tough. People say, well, they're not doing as well, but you're number 5 on the list. So
yeah,
I
just
guess
wait 2 more weeks, because we have plenty
Yeah.
of runners the next 2 weeks. I'm very bullish about our chances this week. I think we're running
And I was
like
gonna say,
5
I
or
think
6 stakes I really like. So I'll be
it's probably
surprised
a
if we don't end in the top 3, to be honest.
I was going to
Wow,
say it's a
okay, I like
testament,
it.
though, to you guys that there may be a perception that you're not having a tremendous meet, but you're number 5 in the standings in the toughest meet there is.
Yeah, I hope we don't finish 5, to be honest with you. I'll be a bit disappointed if we're not in the top 3, to be honest. But listen, Dad has always liked to win races no matter where you get a chance to win. A lot of our owners, for instance, surprised them. Then the last 2 weeks of Belmont meet, we ran a lot. Community Adjusted, for instance, broke her other than at the last week or so at the meet. It's when they're doing well, run. It's not complicated things. Between race days, entries, weather, how the horse is going, so many factors go in. So if you have the opportunity to run the last 3 weeks of Belmont, we're very firm to be aggressive and go for it. I know a lot of people wait for Saratoga. They save them for Saratoga. They keep their conditions for Saratoga. They do everything they can just to win and to race well at Saratoga. For me, New York's New York. If you can win in May, June, July, it doesn't matter if it's at Belmont or Saratoga or even Aqueduct. Whenever you have an opportunity to go for it, you need to go for it. It's too tough not to win, and I don't think you should save for one meet per se. I know a lot of people differentiate that with us, but they're different in that. I disagree. It's so tough to win in New York. When you have an opportunity, go for it. Even now, in the last 2 weeks at Saratoga, we ran a lot the last 2 weeks at Belmont, so that's where we're a bit slow, maybe you could say, by your standards in the first few weeks of Saratoga. But we're going to be very live the next 2 weeks. And even now, you can see in the entry box, we have more opportunities to run because less people are entering with Kentucky Downs taking place right next door. I disagree. Horses are here to run. If they're doing well, you run. When in doubt, you run them again. And owners love it. So what if they don't run their repeat performance? Big Invasion ran at 4 weeks. If you look at the speed ratings, he ran a 7 when he won at Saratoga in the beginning of the meet. I think it was the quick call. Many people say don't run him back quickly. It's a very strong number. It's very quick. It's going to bounce. So what if he bounces? If he's that good, he'll win anyway. And even if he regresses 1 or 2 or 3 lengths, it doesn't matter. He'll win. You don't always have to run an A race in order to win, and you don't always have to wait 5, 6, 7 weeks. You look at too many horses that are sound that run every 6, 7 weeks. They're just hoping for the big performance. I don't know. I'd much rather run a horse 10 times, you win 4 races, 3 seconds, 2/3, than have a horse just run 3 times in a year and win all 3 starts. That's me, at least.
I think Paul and I completely agree with you. And as
Absolutely.
handicappers, we definitely would like to see bigger fields. By the way, before we get into our last segment, Miguel, and again, thanks for joining us today. I have a very strong message from Matt Guterre and all the Adelphi partners and club members. This Friday, you mentioned horses you're running. This Friday, the second race, there's a New York maiden special on the dirt, 6 furlongs. You're running 2 horses in that race. Can't Hurry Love and Valus. But we have a horse called we have a horse called Funny How. So if you want to tell Franco and Rosario to take it a little bit easy if you see Funny How out in front, we'd all appreciate it.
No, I can't. I think we're undefeated against Matt so far with Adelphi. I think
Okay.
we've never lost to him. I'm actually terrified because I think Friday you have a chance. I thought your horse, she ran well first time out. I know we ran second. Your filly ran third, but she was a bit troubled on the inside. Ran well ridden by Trevor. Expected to improve. For my sake, I hope Ray didn't do a good job, but I mean, for your sake, I hope he did. And I've got 2 in the race. We'll see. We're running. So, for instance, Voleuse, she ran that same race your filly ran last time at Belmont. We ran it right back at Saratoga. She ran third, and we run it right back. She runs every 3 weeks. I know it's probably not her best performance. If you want to have a peak performance, you wait for 6, 7 weeks. But I mean, she's a filly that we run her every 3 weeks, and heck, if she's doing well, go for it. She's sound, she's clean, legged, happy. Go for it. I hope I beat you, but that's me. I'm very competitive. I'm very, very competitive. Far too competitive. It's not healthy.
We hear you. No, we wish you luck. We think Funny How has a big shot. Has been training real well. Miguel, we have a very fun segment we're going to end the show with. This is going to be really quick, rapid fire, fun questions. The segment is called 10 Minutes to Post. 10 minutes to post. Like I said, Miguel, you can answer these in 5 seconds, 30 seconds, really up to you. It's mainly horse racing questions. You'll see them at the bottom of the screen. Again, if you have any questions for Miguel Clement as we end the show here, ladies and gentlemen watching, we appreciate everyone watching live. Please put those questions in the live chat. We'll try to bring them up for Miguel. Here we go. 10 very quick questions, Miguel. Number 1, I'll go first, Paul. What was the first moment you fell in love with horses or horse racing? Was there
first moment was probably Honor Glide winning the Sword Dancer. I remember that race vividly. He won the Sword Dancer. Jose Santos rode. I was just a kid, to be honest. I think I was probably 5. I loved it. I loved the races. I remember the build up for the race. My dad, the excitement level he had, training up to him, breezing him on the grass with Jose. And that was probably my first true memory I could remember start to finish. And I was probably from that age, I knew I was always going to be involved with horses.
Terrific. Paul, you have the next question.
The best horse racing most memorable you have ever been at? I'm sure it's a long list for you, Miguel, but
no, yeah, listen, there's heck of good racing everywhere around the world. Melbourne Cup in Australia, spectacular. The Arc in France is probably one of the best things there is. Royal Ascot was a lot of fun. I was fortunate enough to work for Hugo Palmer when he won the English Guineas with Galileo Gold, and then won the Royal Ascot with Galileo Gold as well, the St. James Palace. There's many good memories. I've always got one cherished personally, is because when Tonus won the Belmont Stakes, that was very meaningful for us, considering we're New York based. And for me, the Belmont Stakes would always hold a special meaning in my heart, just because it's for me, that's home base. That's home.
I bet Governor Malibu, by the way, that day, and thought he ran big. He just was like tight on the inside. Got a little bit of unfortunate trip. I don't blame the job, but it was just one of those circumstances.
You don't have to, but I do, so that's okay.
Okay, well, I'm glad you said it. I blame the jock a little bit, but I didn't want to put you in an uncomfortable situation. All right, next question. Do you have a favorite type of race, a distance or service that you like to train a horse for, or just like to watch in general?
No. So back in the day, Dad was labeled as a marathon, fillies only, long on the grass, because the majority of horses we received were from Europe 30 years ago or so. And now he's being labeled as a turf sprinter after having Disco Partner, Big Invasion, Pure Sensation, and Colts. So, I mean, or New York Breds. I suppose it's good. Whenever you're labeled as something, it means you're doing something well, because people think that you're stronger than others in that domain and category. So you should always be labeled as something, so that's always a positive. It's just funny how our stereotype seems to change. As long as you're labeled something, that's always good. But I think a good trainer, they could look after anything. Turf, dirt, 2-year-olds, young, older. It's very much the horse you receive is what, determines, I suppose, your label, per se. It's I'm very comfortable. I think Dad's very comfortable. The operation has showed we're able to have 2-year-old winners in May. We've done it frequently for years. We're able to win 1.5 mile races on either dirt or turf. We won the Belmont Stakes. That's 1.5 miles. That's not an issue. It's dirt, turf, even the all-weather. From 2-year-old life in May, or still even like a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old revved up, won stakes races for us back in the day when he was even a 10-year-old. So it's you just have to keep him sound, happy, and get the surface and distance right, and the horses take care of the rest, which is the great thing about our sport.
Yeah, Paul, the fallacy that Clement, Christoph is making you like a turf trainer just drives me crazy. I mean, people obviously don't pay attention.
Well,
By
it's
the
not
way,
fair.
Miguel,
If you look at the percentage, just for the record, our percentage is actually 1% higher on dirt than it is turf over the last 5 years. When they say that,
Wow.
it's okay. I'd
There you
remind them to
go.
look at the percentages once in a while. It's just
Yeah,
because
then you
the
got to go to the
overwhelming
windows and get a
clientele,
better price on your dirt horse, right? So that's
our
all right.
clientele, unfortunately, sends us more turf horses than dirt. So therefore, we're inevitably going to be running more,
Of
competing more on
course.
the grass than dirt.
And it's pretty cool to see the disco partner babies on the track. Boy, we see Paul. What an animal he was. Well, what is it? Was it 105 and change in the diaper? 106 and change? I can't remember the time. Like unbelievable that one year.
It's the world record, so whatever it is, it's still the fastest time.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Paul.
Your best training accomplishment, you and the stable.
And Miguel, this could be a horse it doesn't have to be a grade one. This could be a horse that you guys just didn't think would be very good, and you turn him or her into a nice allowance horse. Like it doesn't have to be your the best horse that you guys have had, just your best training accomplishment per se.
No, it varies. There's some horses I never thought at one moment in time you were able to get them to the races to win soundness wise or ability wise, and you keep working and persevering, and they prove it. It varies to say best training accomplishment because very well best training accomplishment should be your best win, but to be honest, it wasn't. There's horses, for instance, Dad ran Mariansky. She won the Sheepshed Bay, Grade 2. He ran her a week later and won the Justa game. It was soft turf, and he went right back 7 days later. Many people would have never done that. Yeah, he did. That was a phenomenal training accomplishment. Even now, for instance, it's very much per day per horse. So sometimes you should be very happy and very proud of a winner you had when the odds were against you, either soundness wise, ability wise, or taking a chance. Dad's a firm believer if a horse is doing well, take a chance. Many times you'll see us running as a big long shot and winning a race. Look at Cityman, for instance. If you believe in Rags or in Byers that day or in the sheets, we had choice number 5 or 6, but he was training remarkably well. He actually could be an example of a best training accomplishment. He broke his maiden as a 2-year-old at Saratoga, going I think 5.5 on dirt. Then he won the Funny Side Stakes by 4 or 5 lengths. He won stakes races from the age of 2, 3, 4, and now he's a 5-year-old. He won stakes races from 6 furlongs on dirt as a 2-year-old to a mile and an eighth on the grass. He's running on Friday. I'll be shocked. I'll be very disappointed if he doesn't run well. Actually, I'll be a lot worse than that. I'll be in a very bad mood. So for Acacia's sake, I hope he runs very well. He's training lights out. I suppose he's an example of a great accomplishment, keeping a horse happy and sound and winning stakes races every year, regardless of surface or distance. It's the ones, I guess, the older horses that you keep sound is the ones you take a lot of pride in because you look after them. Look at Gufo. Gufo's never missed a beat. Every time there's a big race, he's always competed. Man of War, Manhattan, a Sword Dancer, Turf Classic, a British
Dances
Cup.
every dance, for sure.
Dances every dance. If you look at Gio Ponti's career, he won grade 1s up to the age of 6. He was competing at the highest level from 2 to 6 until he was retired. Toneless never missed a beat as well. If you look at the races he ran, he didn't always necessarily win, but it was 1, 2, 3. He competed at the highest level and dances every dance. So I suppose our biggest accomplishment is, to get them to every dance, to make sure they compete well at the highest level and to make every dance.
Paul, we're going about another 10 minutes. I don't know if you're okay with that. Okay.
No, I'm good.
I know we're going a little past our time because of the tech difficulties. All right. This next question is mine. The best advice you received as a trainer and from whom other than your father?
No, I learned from many great trainers. I was lucky to work for the likes of Mike DeCock.
Wow.
I worked for some great individuals. I was very fortunate in that regards. You have to always be humble because it's a very humbling sport. I mean, I think we all have to be humble at some point. We all get beat somewhere between 70 to 80% of the time, and that's if you're doing tremendously well. But the best advice is to work hard. As long as you work hard, everything else takes place afterwards, but you have to work hard. There's no shortcuts in this game. If you don't have a strong work ethic, you'll never get there. And I've never learned that, per se by some individual telling me. But if you look at a lot of the likes of the best, outfits that are there around the world, they all have one similarity. Some are very hands-on, some are not hands-on, some are, for instance, very involved with owners, some do very poor communication with owners, you name it, they all differ. But there's one common characteristic, and that's hard work and for the love of horses. You have to love the horses and you have to work hard. So I suppose my mom taught me how to work hard back as I was a child, but hard work does it all. As long as you work hard, everything else comes up afterwards, but you have to work hard. Otherwise, this industry, it's too tough. You'll never last. You'll never compete at the highest level. It's too tough to win races in the New York circuit without putting the hours and the work. Because trust me, if you make mistakes, you'll be exposed and they'll quickly find it. And the ones you're competing against, they make very few mistakes, if any, as well. So you have to get it right.
Absolutely. I had to ask a question regarding Keisha out of respect to her. So, Paul, this one's for you.
I think this is a rhetorical question. We know the answer. Do you have time to spend with Acacia on race days?
Um, I don't know how to answer this politely. So
We
on
can
race
skip
days,
it if you
let's
want.
be honest. Let's be honest. On race days, if I win, I'm in a very good mood. If I get beat, but my horse runs well, I'm usually quite good, to be honest with you. I'm just very upset when they run poorly. Very upset. And so Acacia tends to avoid me when they get beat. So I think actually she doesn't want to spend time with me on race days if I get beat. It's probably safer that way too for our marriage sake.
Yeah, I was
Fair
going to
enough.
say,
Fair
good
enough.
recipe.
Is there a bucket list track you already mentioned several you've been to or race day event you'd like to attend you haven't yet, whether it be here in the States or overseas?
No, I was lucky I got to any major racing competition at the highest level. There's one I never made it to Japan. I would love to have been there once for the big day of racing. I was fortunate enough to go to Hong Kong. I was fortunate
Oh,
enough to
you've
do
been
Australia, Europe,
Happy Valley. Where in Hong Kong were you at?
Happy Valley.
Oh,
Um,
that looks unbelievable.
no, it's fantastic. Even in the States, there's some racetracks I've never been to that I've competed a lot at. Just last year is the first time I ever made it to Finger Lakes, believe it or not.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
you would have never guessed that, but yeah, I went there for a big stakes race actually. Um, It varies. It's just anything. Whenever there's good races, you always want to partake in it. There's
Of course.
nothing per se I really want to do, and if anything, I'm more comfortable being like the hub spots. I suppose Dad feels the same way. Staying at home base and then shipping him there, and then as long as you do your preparation and all your homework at home, you just keep them ticking over and happy or wherever you send them to, and they take care of the rest.
We got three more questions. Again, Miguel, appreciate your time. This one is for Paul, and you'll read the question. I don't want to put you in an awkward spot, so you'll understand why I say that after Paul reads the question.
You have to win one race on the turf for $10 million. Which jockey not currently riding would you like to take the mount?
That's So the safe answer would say Jerry Bailey, because when I was a kid, he dominated. He was very impressive. He was incredibly smart. He won a lot. I remember those days. He was very involved. Uh, when I was a child, my favorite jockey was maybe Corey Nakatani because he won us a lot of big races. He's
That's my
amazingly
guy.
strong in a finish. He's underestimated. If I
How's
want
he
to be
not nominated,
politically,
by the way?
if I want to be
Complete
politically
travesty.
correct, if I want to be politically correct, I have to say Richard McLeary because he's brilliant and he's Joe's father, and also Richard works with Acacia, so that's probably the answer I should be saying right now.
Good answer.
But $10 million with the jockey not riding. I would have said Ramon Dominguez, but I'm still bitter about the ride we had in the Dubai World Cup, even if I think he was a phenomenal jockey, and I do love him as both a rider and as a human being. I think the world about him. But it would probably be someone that no one thinks about as much, unfortunately, because he's no longer with us, which is tremendously sad. But I would go with Garrett Gomez. I think when he was right, he had his career with Ron Anderson for the 2 or 3 year span where he was in New York, that he really was a different gear. He won you races that many of other jockeys would never have won you. And you could be honest about it now. He won us some races I didn't think we should have won, and the only reason why we won is because he was a difference maker.
Yeah, absolutely. His name is brought up on the show a few times. Before I get to our last two questions, this is a question from Kevin B at the bottom of the screen. Any runners this Saturday on the undercard for the Travers that you want to tout other than Gufo?
Yeah, well, listen, we're running I think like 13, which is the most we've ever run in our life.
Wow.
On
On Travers
Friday.
Day?
On Friday, and I think we're gonna run like 5 or 6 on Travers Day.
Wow.
The ones I like, I won't lie. If City Man gets beat in the West Point Stakes, I'm pouting. I'm being honest with you right now.
Okay.
I know he's
I
got the
want everyone
stablemate.
write this down. Be ready now.
Yeah.
City Man, go ahead. I want to interrupt.
No, it's okay. Sometimes I pout. It does happen. I get it wrong and I pout. It's just Acacia has to be aware of it beforehand. No, we're running a lot I'm excited and bullish about. On Travers Day, running maybe a filly for West Point I like a lot called Parnak. She's nice. The only fear I have is the mile. We're running on other than a mile on the turf. Probably should go in the races a bit further, but she's a touch keen and touch strong. She won a stakes race in Europe at 7.5 furlongs, so that's why we're leaning towards a mile. We might be making a mistake. I'm convinced she might want to stretch. I don't know if it's right for her career today's to try stretching her right now. So we might run her a mile, which is a bit short, but she's training very well. It's and then this weekend, Kanisi is running in the Risk of her stakes. she's training rather well. I like her. I'll be disappointed if she doesn't put her, a good step forward. There's a couple stakes I'm bullish about. Acoustic Ave is a 2-year-old that we are fortunate to have, that we bought, the 2-year-old sales, Macklin Music. I think we're running against that Kelly Breen horse, the Forense Fryer brother, who's very good, who ran, I think, third in the Sanford. So that's not going to be an easy task.
Yeah.
He should be the heavy favorite. But our boy's training well. I'm bullish about his chances. He looks well, training well. He's progressed from the first race. He won for fun. He wasn't really tested. I think won by like 7 lengths his debut. It's he should be tough. There's a very fun filly to train called Tis a Pity. She would be should be any owner's dream. She's not in terms of ability, she would never dazzle you. She's an A other than New York bred. She runs somewhere between high 65s to low 70 buyers, but she's the most remarkable, consistent filly there is. She should run well. She's been through many issues that she should have never made it to the races, and she overcomes it all. It just shows you that tough, genuine horses make it through anything. And there's some interesting, we've got plenty of action. That's why if we're still fifth at the end of the Saratoga meet, I'll be disappointed. I won't lie to you. I'm bullish about this week. If it does go badly and we don't get a winner this week, it's fine. It's just Acacia may not want to come home for that week, but except for that, everything else is good.
All right. Well, I wish you luck with all those horses this weekend. 2 more questions and we're on the show. Paul?
Favorite horse not trained by your family, whether he's currently running or retired?
It's simple. Ouija Board. Ouija Board is a very good filly. She was a top race mare. She never missed a beat. She competed all around the world. I think she beat us in a British Cup.
She's great.
She's top class. She was able to take on campaigns all around the world, and I love horses that do that. That they don't say, as much as I respected Franco. If you ask me, I like See the Stars more campaign than Franco, just because it was more international for me. I love horses that compete at the highest legs, that travel. Even in the States, have some great horses that race in New York, some great horses that race in California. I don't know. For me, the horses I love are the ones that take on the world and take on the different journeys, and they're those are the ones that are more meaningful. I think back in the day, my dad had a filly called Voodoo Dancer. Every 3 or 4 weeks, she ran California, Kentucky, New York. I mean, you name it. Traveled everywhere. Those are the ones. She didn't always necessarily win, but she ran at the high level, 1, 2, 3, pretty much in all these big racetracks and everywhere. We need to run more. Too many times you see good horses running just 4, 5, 6 career starts and retiring. It's not enough. They're racehorses. They're meant to run, and so what if you don't win? You take a crack at it, be ambitious, and go for it if they're doing well. They need to run at the end of the day. They are racehorses.
Yeah, I'd love to see Baid come here, but I know he's not. But I mean, that you mentioned Frankel. He's about the closest thing to Frankel I've seen recently in England, or sorry, in Europe. Baid, Paul, is, I don't know if you've seen this horse run, is this turn of foot that this horse has. I mean, he absolutely rolled by my boy Mishriff, like Mishriff was tied to the pole in the last race, Miguel. I mean, I'm sure you've seen Baid run. That is he's the best horse in the world right now, and I think rightly so. He's
any horse that has an electric turn of foot like that, when your jock asks you, and then within that same stride, from the moment you stand still to when you're being asked, and you just open up lengths like that with an electric turn of foot, it's different class. You very, very rarely see it, but when you do see it, it's a treat. It's like Jackson Warrior here with Joel. The moment Joel asks him a little bit, you can see he opens up 2, 3 lengths on everyone instantly. When they become push buttons like that, you could say the same about Big Invasion. The point is, push buttons like that are very, very rare, and that's what you hope to see in the mornings. And you wake up every day hoping to find a horse that's a push button.
Miguel, can you train? I know I want to ask you. I'm glad you brought that up. But sorry, one before we get to the last question, is that something just pure natural talent, like a Michael Jordan, etc., or can you actually train that? Obviously, you want to train a horse to be push button and have that acceleration, but how much of that is training? How much is that just pure athletic ability and just?
Well, it's very simple. You'll never make a Saturn into a Formula One race car, Porsche. Okay, so at some point you have to have the ability and the structure there to get you there. But in terms of training, yes, you have to make horses respond. Although, Baid, Jackson Warrior, Jockey's Warrior, those horses, they're so well trained in the sense that whenever you ask them, they deliver it. They don't run off. They're not keen, but they travel strongly on the bits. That the moment you do give them their cue to, okay, let's go, kick on, it's instant. It's because they are remarkable horses, but they're also well trained. They're not running off. They're not being too keen early on, losing their energy. and they're able to be within their hands to the moment the jock asked. The moment that jock asked, you can see the acceleration's instantaneous. They're waiting for the cues, so they're very well trained. It's tough to do. And can you train that? Yes. You can work them one behind the other. You see many of our turf workers, they work one behind the other. Actually, in every single work we do is one behind the other. The only time we're not taught to be covered up behind weight is whenever we boost from the gates. All our other works are always one behind the other, teach them to settle, relax, and come at the end. I suppose our horses are very much trained to do that. And you see a lot of our horses with a turn of foot because we do train for it. Usually they're not forwardly placed. Is it because of the way we train, or because Joel prefers to be more at the back? It depends, but it's a good fit. Works well, and I guess it does really suit our training style. And you try to train your horses to have a devastating turn of foot, especially for turf. Most of the races are won from quarter pole wire. On dirt, it's mostly about attrition, but on turf races, whoever has the best turn of foot 9 times out of 10 will get the job done.
Yeah, whoever can quicken and find the hole really usually will win. Last question, Paul. This is yours.
Your favorite non-horse racing sporting event you've ever been to?
So, believe it or not, I'm a massive soccer fan. Love soccer. I use running as my scapegoats for stressful days. Love soccer events. So, Premier League. I'm a big Arsenal fan. I love soccer. I was fortunate to go to an Arsenal game. They lost when I was there in England, actually. They lost to Liverpool. It was like 5-4, and the whole Arsenal side were devastated. I was a bit upset, but not nearly as upset as you would think, because it was my first game ever. And I witnessed 9 goals, and there were some remarkable goals that took place. So I was delighted. There was a lot of action. I saw yellow cards. I saw red cards. I loved it. I'm a big sports guy, to be honest with you. I suppose that's the big difference between Dad and I, as I was raised in the States. So I'm a big basketball fan. I was fortunate to be there in Miami. Of course, I jumped on the bandwagon when the big 3 took place there between LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. But and obviously, when going to Duke, you have to be biased. We had Kyrie, we had Zion, you name it. I was lucky there. I love sports at the highest level, because there's many similarities. If you follow the Formula One racing series on Netflix, there's many similarities between that and horse racing. Any sport that you compete at the highest level, which I like to think that we do, for instance, in our industry, there's lots. There's disappointments, there's stresses, there's what's to overcome. You look at, any of the Netflix's things, between, the basketball teams they follow, the hockey teams they follow, or the Premier League that they have now. They're doing one, all or nothing on Arsenal. There's lots of similarities. There's one common theme is you have to perform. It doesn't matter how you do it, how your style is, what your tactics are, what your team you do or anything. But the end conclusion is you have to perform, and you have to perform year in, year out. Otherwise, you won't last at the high level. Yeah, you have to perform. You have to be competitive and perform and to work hard.
Well, the Clement stable and yourself has been working very hard and very high level for a long time. Miguel, we're going to let you go. We really appreciate you coming on. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties earlier in the show. We got it all worked out. Any final thoughts for the Adelphi Club members and partners that might be watching that you folks train for?
Yeah, no, it's very simple. So there's so previously I mentioned that there's 2 rules that we have in the stable. Rule number 1, the boss is always right, and rule number 2 is to revert back to rule number 1. I'll give the Adelphi, all the partners, 2 rules. Rule number 1, if the horse is fast, is thanks to the stables, and rule number 2 is if the horse is slow, just blame Joe Migliori. That's pretty much my motto for most things in life.
There you go.
Community adjusted would be your next runner. Thinking about running or maybe at Colonial, believe it or not. There's a 1.5 mile race here at Saratoga. I'm not sure she stays a 1.5 mile. I know she ran a 1.38 here the other day. But it was also a false 3-1 race. The pace was very slow, very, very slow. So it's really just a sprint, 3 furlong sprint at the home. I'm not sure if I wanted to go a 1.5 miles. You have the Kentucky Downs race, but I know some good fillies are being pointed to that race because everyone's been saving. You can look at the entry box. A lot of people are saving for Kentucky Downs. So that's why I think it's smart. You go Colonial option 1. You enter at Colonial, I believe, on August 25th, which is the day before you need a 0 date for Kentucky Downs. If the race does not go at Colonial, then you reroute the papers to Kentucky Downs to get that as your backup race. So I have a backup race in case the Colonial race does not go. So she needs to run. She looks tremendous. She's dappled. She looks well, carrying good weight. She's sound. She's happy. She's in good nick. She's in very good condition, the filly. So you do that. Colonial option 1. Option 2 would be Kentucky Downs, and you go from there.
Right.
We were supposed to get Trevor McCarthy in the irons to help out Joe Migliori at Colonial, but I think he's got a suspension. So I think we rerouted to the leading rider there, which is Loveberry. And it's all good. I'm excited to see her run. She's going to run well, that filly.
Okay.
She's been fun for you, and she's gonna be competitive wherever she runs next time out.
Well, I look forward to seeing Magistrate run hopefully sometime in the fall here, and then looking forward to seeing Magistrate in the Breeders' Cup. No pressure. after Magistrate wins the Derby, then we'll go. No, I'm just kidding. But
Yeah, it has to be at least in
I'm
2023.
yeah, Miguel, I'm pretty new in the ownership game, and I'm just being able to hang out with these horses is just so cool. And we thank you so much and spending time for us tonight and taking care of the horse that you have through Adelphi. I look forward to seeing you again, Paul. You're obviously there. Are you there for the Travers, right, Paul? You're this week.
Yeah, I'm
right?
coming up Thursday. Yep, I'll be there for New York Bread Day, Miguel. So we'll probably be connecting after those races. You guys are in just about every one of them.
Yeah, we're running a lot. It should be a big day. I'm actually quite
Yeah.
excited to see they run. I just hope the weather cooperates. Small chance of showers, I think, on Friday afternoon, but I think we'll get away with it. But I'm excited. I've got plenty of action this week, and some I think are training remarkably well. As I mentioned, Kanisi this week, Cityman this week. Gufo is always a tough gamble. He always runs well. That's not a question of whether or not he'll show up. It's just whether or not he can get the job done, because it's very much race tactics in play with him.
Yeah.
And more importantly, we're running 2 against Adelphi, so I need to do everything I can to keep that record intact.
All right, well, we'll tell Q-Ter to send you some more cookies. Maybe that'll convince you. Miguel, thanks again. We really appreciate it. Looking forward to having you on the show once again, and good luck this weekend and going forward. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for
Take
having
care,
me.
Miguel.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Miguel.
All right, Paul, that was what a great guy. We really appreciate Miguel spending all that time talking with a lot of the sources. Looks like he's got a lot of live ones this weekend, Paul.
Yeah, well, I was looking at the Friday entries, Howard, right when we were coming on the air, and on page 1 it lists by trainer what races they're in, and I don't know if I could find it here, but there's 11 races on Friday. I think they are in 9 of them, and he said they have 13 horses running, so they must have multiples in
Well, I know
some of the
race
races.
2 against Funny How, the Adelphi horse. They've got 2 in there, so that's one race they got 2. But anyway, the Clement stable does a great job, and I can just say, like I said, just to close it out, Paul, I've had nothing but positive experiences meeting Miguel and Christoph, and actually the other Christoph as well, and Acacia, of course. Just everyone is fantastic, and I think they definitely have some more Breeders' Cup wins on the horizon. It's just amazing that they only had the one total with Pizza Bianca. But all I know is the Christoph Clement horses almost always run. They're even more live with their first-time starters over the last several years if you've been paying attention. And you have to always take them seriously. But most importantly, Paul, is that barn, they're clean. They always take care of their horses. They just do it the right way, don't they?
Oh, they sure do. And in fairness to him, Howard, he does have 6 seconds and 6/3 in the Breeders' Cup. So,
Yeah.
it wasn't like he was never showing up. He mentioned Giaponti. Those of us who needed Giaponti to hold off Zenyatta for a pick. But no, he is, as I say, at their level, it was inevitable. I'm glad Miguel talked about that. They ran their horses at Belmont, and he told you a lot of people wait. Everyone wants to run at Saratoga. Everyone wants to win at Saratoga. It's why the first 3 weeks at Saratoga, especially Howard, you have 12, 14, 15-way shakes in a claiming race, because people know that if you claim in the first 3 weeks, you can still run back. Everyone wants to run at Saratoga, but they had, I think, 33 wins at Belmont, if I'm not mistaken. And as I say, they're perceived as not having a great Saratoga meet. But I just looked at the standings; they're number 5, and it sounds like they're going to be going up, or it's going to be unhappiness in the Courtney Clement household.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Paul, we appreciate you. And again, apologize to everyone listening at home for the first 10 or 15 minutes. Paul, I'm going to see if we can edit that out. Perhaps we don't have to worry about that for the viewers. But if not, that's okay. We were able to work it out. Want to thank everyone for watching this evening. And of course, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor. And this week, again, this Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern with Andrew Champagne, a big blowout show preview of Travers Day Stakes, the late pick 5. And then, of course, this Saturday, I'll be live at the Crazy Poor OTB in Villa Park, Illinois, with the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge champion, Matt Miller, as we go through live the probably last 4 or 5 races leading into the Travers, and of course the Travers Stakes. For my wonderful co-host Paul Halloran, this has been your host Howard Kravitz, the special All About Adelphi episode number 3. We look forward to seeing all of you here on the HHH Racing podcast this Thursday night. Take care, everyone. Have a great evening. Goodbye.